Good evening. My name is Michelle Coso, and I want to start off by thanking you personally for joining our seminar. Our seminar that we're covering today is the Family Relationships 101. And just to get us started, my name is Michelle Coso. As I had already stated, I'm one of the social workers here at iHeart Family Center. And what we're going to work on today is kind of establishing a comfortability and a better understanding of how families develop to assist you in potentially flourishing your understanding and create a growth that will blossom. So just to kind of cover our agenda a bit today, what we're going to work on is we're going to talk about what is a healthy family, and then we will make our way into two different family styles. The purpose of the two family styles is to kind of see and expose you a little bit to two different styles of families, see what you may be familiar with, what you may not be familiar with, and we can kind of incorporate that into our next point that we'll address, which is setting boundaries. And then after we set some boundaries and learn how to do that, we will be doing an activity. So I do ask that you take out a piece of paper and a pen, just to kind of prep for that activity that we'll do later on. So my goal for today's session is that as a group, we will work on gaining a better understanding of how families develop and how to help families flourish. So to kind of begin with, we're going to start off with what is a healthy family? So I know that's a very vague question, and it's kind of like, okay, how does one define a healthy family? So the correct answer is there is no correct answer. Everyone has their own way of defining a healthy family or what they deem as being a healthy family. Before I do state anything, I just want to say that there is no true meaning of a perfect family. So what's perfect for me may be perfect different for you, and that is perfectly normal, and that is 100% okay. So I just want you to take a few minutes, maybe we'll make it a couple seconds, where you're going to pause and kind of reflect on what adjectives or characteristics that you would classify as your version of a healthy family. So you can go ahead and think about that, let it process a little bit, and then we'll move forward with that. So I'll give it a few seconds. Okay, so what we're going to go ahead and do is what I have listed so far for what would be classified as a healthy family is a family that has a strong communication, a family that is solving family problems, that has an understanding and a handling of special family situations, along with the willingness to create a better functioning home environment. Healthy families, they want to help improve their relationships, their communications, and help resolve conflicts within the family. So we're going to transition over into the two styles of families that I had mentioned earlier in the introduction. So the two different styles are called enmeshed and disengaged. So when you think of an enmeshed family, what I want you to think of is think of your hands like an E, right? Kind of looks like an E, right? Enmeshed, right? And then when you think of disengaged, I want you to think of disengaged. So kind of to start off with our enmeshed families, what we're going to do is I'm going to list kind of like characteristics of both families. And my intention of this is I want you to kind of have a better understanding. Maybe think to yourself, that is what I had growing up as a kid, or that is how my family is now, or I witnessed my friend have a family like this. Just kind of try to apply this and connect it to your own life, okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to get started with our enmeshed families, right? So enmeshed families, they diffuse their boundaries between their family members. So they usually know what everyone is doing in their family almost on a daily basis, even as adults and as children. They usually are on the phone almost daily. They establish that face-to-face contact consistently. The personal pursuits, usually they need a family approval or discussion before something being taken. An example of that, when you think of dating and relationships, for example, you may have a boyfriend or girlfriend that get put in the family mix, and the family may disapprove of that person being within their family environment, right? That's going to potentially create conflict for that child in the family who may be trying to bring someone in this tight-knit family. Another example is there may be statements said like, we always blank in this family, or we never blank in this family. It's very known for being common. Additionally, there's individual members, they may seek or may have little to no privacy, but the family itself as a whole, they're very private. Additionally, all or most of the family members, they usually have very similar interests or similar hobbies. So for example, if you think of a family, I apologize. If you think of a family that is very like a diehard Packers fan, or you think of a family that, everyone went to, for example, Aurora University, the whole family, the mother, the grandma, the great-grandma, the whole 9 yards, everyone's done that. As a family, they have that common denominator. Additionally, you will usually hear like, my mother or my father, my sister, my brother is my best friend. That is a tendency as well. But the key component to take out of the enmeshed families is that their family is everything. Enmeshed families, they describe themselves as close, right? So as you can see, enmeshed is close, right? So we're going to move on to our next one. And our next one is our disengaged families, right? So when you think of a disengaged family, think of like a disconnect, okay? So disengaged families, they live more kind of like roommates. That's the best way to explain it. So some roommates are close, they're enmeshed, right? But majority of the time, roommates are not really that close to one another. They just kind of share the household, per se. There is a tendency from like a late childhood to your early teenage years in this family that the children kind of come and go, sometimes without parents even really being aware as to where their children are located. Additionally, their personal pursuits are kind of one's own, and there can be encouragement here and there from the parents, but it's not usually, it tends to overlap the parent. The key message that you really want to take out of a disengaged family is that there is no key message in this. In extreme cases of disengagement, there can be parents that are engaged in partying, alcohol, and or drugs. So to kind of correlate this in with our enmeshed families, the enmeshed families mainly see the disengaged families as families that are neglectful. However, each group sees themselves as they're fairly normal. That's the norm and that's what they're used to. So, to now incorporate this into setting boundaries. With both styles of families, boundaries are always important to establish a great relationship. So, I'm going to give 3 helpful tips. It can help in any sort of boundary that you want to establish, whether it's family, whether it's friends, work. But what we're going to do is we're going to try to establish that with our family boundaries today. So, I apologize for the plane. For the first boundary that I put in for a approach to take is naming your limits. We cannot set boundaries if we are not sure as to where we stand. So, you want to identify what is your physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual limits that you need to be met. You need to consider You need to consider what you can tolerate and what you can accept, and what makes you uncomfortable and what makes you stressed. Those feelings will help you identify what your limits are so that you can have those limits met. The second point that I have is giving yourself the permission. A lot of people, myself included, sometimes have a tendency of having that fear, guilt, and self-doubt of, potentially hurting relationships that we have. We fear about the other people, in this case, our family. We fear our family's response that if we set a boundary and enforce the boundary, it's going to create conflict. We might feel guilty by speaking up for ourselves or even saying no to a family member. The key to take out of this is that boundaries are just a sign of a healthy relationship. They are a sign of self-respect for yourself. So give yourself the permission to set your boundaries and work to preserve them as well. The third point that I have for setting your boundaries is being assertive. I know for many people that being assertive is extremely difficult and challenging. However, we actually have to follow through with being assertive. It is important to be assertive with your communication with another person if they have crossed your boundaries. In a respectful way, you can let the other person know that what they had done particularly was bothersome to you, and you both can work together towards it to address that. So, moving forward with this, we can all intertwine this together. So we talked about the two styles of families. We talked about enmeshed, disengaged, and how we can set boundaries to find a common ground with both styles of families. So now we're going to talk about a genogram and an ecomap, right? Genograms and ecomaps are not only a great tool and activity to get the family together, but it's also great for you to come to an understanding about your background, your relationships, your root causes of your challenges, and better understand your family dynamics. A genogram will assist in creating an opportunity for possible behavior changes. It also will assist in conversations of really difficult topics. Not only will it do the following that I had stated, it will also explore your strengths personally and your family's strengths. So, when you're conducting a genogram, we don't have to exactly do this activity, but I'll get into the briefs of it just so that we better understand things. So, give me 1 second. I'm going to draw a lovely picture. So, we have a picture right here. This is our genogram. So, usually we have a different shape for different genders. So, this would be the father. This would be the mother. If you go down the genogram, you have their two daughters, right? And what you can easily do is you could put, for example, say the daughter or the mother is 50 and the father is 62. I don't know, the daughter's 27 and the other daughter is 36. I don't know, I'm not the best with math. Besides the point, you just put the ages on there, right? So when you have the ages on here, you can also put maybe this daughter, she has heart disease, and you can put a heart there. And what you'll usually do is you'll put kind of like a key here. And if you put like a heart, you can put heart disease. So you can label everything. So say you had someone in your family who may have battled with substance abuse. You could put that on here. You can color coordinate it, the whole 9 yards. This is extremely helpful. It's a great activity to try out with your family and better understand your strengths as a family along with your challenges. So moving on to the activity that I want you to participate in. So we're going to try to make an eco map. All right. So first I'm going to talk about the eco map before we get into the fun stuff. So an eco map, the whole purpose of it is not only the relationship themselves, but the quality of the relationship that you have, that you choose to classify. So when you conduct an eco map, it'll establish your connections to the systems that you put in your eco map, and it can be a positive or a negative, a nurturing or damaging, secure or plagued by conflict and stress. It could vary a wide range of the spectrum. So the relationships might be close or distant, strong or weak, one-sided or mutual. So the whole purpose, just to kind of recap it, is to expand on human relationships with people's environments and organize a person's support system. So here comes the fun part. So we're going to make an eco map. So the first step that I want you to do is get a paper and get a pen. So we're going to draw a large circle in the middle of your paper, right? And you're going to put your name, right? So once you get that done, you're going to draw, let's do 5 circles, right? You're going to draw 5 circles around your name. You have your 5 circles, right? So then in these 5 circles, you can put things that are kind of close to you or something that represents you. So it can be your family members, your friends, your church, place of employment, educational institute, anything. And you'll write that name in the middle. So I'll give you a second. Okay, so what I put in mine, just to kind of elaborate and share, is I put my school for Aurora, I put church, I put social work, I put my place of employment, and I put my mom. So once you have that on there, what you're going to do, the next step, is you're going to draw lines of your connections. The reason that we're doing this is it'll help distinguish who you have a stronger connection with, who you may have a weaker connection with. So what you could do it however you'd like. You could use different colored pens. You can do dotted line, dash lines, however. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a dashed line for a distant connection. So we may not be close, and I will do a strong line for a strong connection with people I'm very close with. Okay, so you put that in there like that. And then the next thing that we're going to work on is we're going to kind of incorporate some arrowheads. So the arrowhead's going to be at the end of the lines that we use to connect us with our outer circles. And the whole purpose of this is to indicate the direction of influence for each relationship that we have. So for example, you may have a healthy relationship with a mother and a daughter, and it's a mutual healthy relationship. So the arrows are going to be double arrowed. And then if you have a one-sided relationship, it may be just one direction. So you can go ahead and do that. All right. Go ahead and add your arrows. Okay. Okay, add your arrows. So now that we did that, it's kind of just an easy way to kind of honestly even de-stress, weigh out your options even as a family, and see who you are closest with, what are your strengths and what are your challenges. So thank you for participating in this activity. So I just want to kind of recap on a positive note. So first of all, great job. We did a wonderful seminar, and I just want everyone to reflect that with our family, we can't live with them, we can't live without them. So thank you for participating, and I hope you had gained a lot of knowledge in the application of various family styles and how to establish healthy family boundaries. Thank you and have a great evening.